Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Typing Championship 2020. Today in 2020, we celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Ultimate Typing Championship organized by Das Keyboard. Last decade, Sean Rona took the championship title. And you're about to witness the fastest typists in the world compete for that title head to head. Let me give you a bit of perspective. I'm a pretty fast typist myself. I average around 120 words per minute, which is above the 99th percentile worldwide, according to humanbenchmark.com. I'm faster than all of my family, close friends, and coworkers. But of the top 25 competitors in this competition, the lowest speed was 160 words per minute. The top 20 contestants were all above 180 words per minute. And the top 3 speeds were all above 200 words per minute. Consider how ridiculously fast that is when most people think of 100 words per minute as pretty fast. I'm not exaggerating when I say that you are about to witness some world-class level typing. From August 3rd to August 10th earlier this month, many typists from around the world had a chance to qualify for this tournament. 180 competitors played at least 50 races to try and max out their average. Then, on the 10th of August, the top 25 leaderboard was locked in. This morning, those 25 players got to compete earlier, and we just experienced 15 of those 25 get eliminated off stream, leaving us with 10 players remaining. These top 10 players will now duke it out in a series of matches to try for the top 4, then the top 2, and then the championship title. We'll start the competition with 2 groups of 5 contestants doing 5 races. Each race will be carried out on typerex.com, where quotes the players haven't seen before are put on display for them to type out as fast and as accurately as possible. Their scores will be calculated and ranked against each other to find the top 4. After that, we'll move on to one smaller group of those 4 and repeat the same process, which will bring us to the finals, a one-on-one best-of-5 match to determine the champion of the Ultimate Typing Championship 2020. So let's go ahead and meet our top 10 competitors. Izzy Aroeti is a 26-year-old typist from Israel who has ranked 2nd coming into today's event. His history of typing excellence is a humble one, as he started out with 40 words per minute when he began speed typing. He qualified for top 25 with 203.3 words per minute and made the top 10 cut this morning in 4th place. Emre Aydin, or Aiko, is a 19-year-old typist from the United Kingdom. Emre studies computer science at his university and is also fluent in several languages. In 2019, he made it into the top 6 of the Clicking Championship. Today, he qualified for top 25 with 189.1 words per minute and pushed through to top 10 in 3rd place. Kathy Chang is a 27-year-old typist from the United States. She serves as the assistant director of the esports department in University of California, Irvine. She placed 4th in the Clicking Championship and qualified for the top 25 today with 185.1 words per minute and pushed through to top 10, tied for 5th place. Anthony Ermelin, or Chak, is a 17-year-old typist from the United States. He is well known and loved by the community, having won the Clicking Championship last year and having a popular race against the late streamer Rekful. Today, he qualified for top 25 with 200 words per minute and pushed through the top 10 in 1st place. Adam Fallon, or Adam Sky, is a 14-year-old typist from the United Kingdom. He started typing as early as age 5 and was inspired by seeing his mother's fast typing speeds. Today, he qualified for the top 25 with 189.7 words per minute and pushed through to top 10 in 7th place. Alex Moberg is a 34-year-old typist from the United States. He recently graduated with a math degree and learned to type fast by using a computer often. He qualified for top 25 today with 180.6 words per minute and made an upset by pushing through to top 10 in 10th place. James Perlas is a 27-year-old typist from the United States. He didn't know about typing until he saw Sean Rona do an AMA about the 2010 Ultimate Typing Championship from last decade. Now, he's competing against him and is an avid typist who qualified for the top 25 with 183.1 words per minute. He pushed through to top 10 this morning in 9th place. Brandon Viel is a 20-year-old typist from the United States. He got into speed typing in 2012, and since then, he has been a big part of this growing community. Last year in the Clicking Championship, he made it into the top 12. Today, he qualified for top 25 with 186.8 words per minute and pushed through to top 10 tied for 5th place. Sean Rona is a 35-year-old typist from the United States. He is defending his title from winning the UTC 10 years ago. Sean has been one of the most important figures in the typing community, and he is currently working on publishing a book on competitive typing. He qualified for the top 25 with 203.5 words per minute and pushed through to top 10 in 2nd place. And finally, Matthew Yang is a 20-year-old typist from the United States. He qualified for the top 25 with 170.7 words per minute and made a huge upset by pushing through to top 10 in 8th place. Now that we met our competitors, we're going to go ahead and view the first races here in this event. It looks like in one group we'll be having Lanny, Matthew Yang, Alex Moberg, and Sean, and the other will be having Viel, Shaq, Palas, Aiko, and Adamski. We're just about getting ready here. And thinking about things going into the tournament now, I did get to see the top 25 compete earlier this morning. And some interesting things happened, as I just noted. There was a huge upset with a few competitors making it in and a few competitors not quite making it in. Matthew Yang, for example, was seated in the 25th position of the top 25, so it wasn't certain necessarily that he would get through, but he managed to push through and do well for himself. Similarly, Alex Moberg also did well with an upset, seating around 20th, but pushing through to top 10 today. We're just getting things about ready. A couple other notes. Sean, again, is defending his title from 10 years ago. And in case you're wondering who to look out for, again, all of these people will have a good shot at competing. Typing, like any other competitive thing, is entirely dependent, of course, on your ability, but it's also dependent on your ability to be able to withstand the pressure of being in this stressful, competitive environment, right? On one day, you might be able to burst out a couple 200 words per minute quotes in a row, and another day you might be struggling just to keep up to 140 or 150 words per minute. Those might sound insane, but those are regular numbers for all of our competitors today. So we'll see how not just we'll see great typing, of course, but we'll also see great ability to stand up to the pressure of this challenge. Last year in the tournament, I hosted the Clicking Championship. Shaq, or Anthony, was the winner and made an upset by defeating Sean Rona. And 10 years ago from the Ultimate Typing Championship, Sean Rona won that event, so that was a huge upset to see last year. And today, I'm sure we'll see a lot of heated battle between those two as things go along. I fully expect them to make it into the top 4, but then again, 5 races, the heat of the moment, maybe someone else will have some sweeping victory. You never know. It'll be tough to see, but again, it's good to know about those. I don't want to say rivalries, but it's definitely something I think both players are considering, whether or not they're doing it subconsciously. I was paying a bit of attention to some other typers, like Viel, for example. He was talking about a bit how he was having trouble in the tournament from last year as well, and he did really well to get in top 12 from the clicking championship, but wish he could have gone further. Today, though, I think he's getting his stride today. In his first couple races, he wasn't getting quite the speeds he wanted, but then he started to push ahead with the rest of his group earlier today, and came out looking pretty solid, tied for 5th place with Kathy. So that's another competitor to keep your eyes out for today. Looks like we're just getting things ready about here. Keep in mind, too, the quotes are unique for all the players. This is something I think that we keep pretty consistent with these typing tournaments. It's one thing to practice a similar quote over and over again, but it's another thing to have the typing facility to be able to type out a new quote in front of you. You will see some difficult quotes, some long quotes, some confusing quotes, all different kinds of quotes, because we want to really find the ultimate typist in these events. Some typists might be better at typing long quotes, others might be better at quick bursts of speed. I think it's interesting to look at where these different competitors come from. For example, earlier today, there was a really long quote passage from a novel, and Sean pulled ahead pretty decidedly, I think, from his experience and his tenacity. It looks like now we're just getting everything about ready, and we're gonna get started now. I'm looking at the room with Chak now. We see those racers are getting started. We're getting this quote here. Pretty short quote, not too many difficult words. Chak pulls ahead, and he pulls ahead with 203 words per minute. Looks like he's going to get first. Aiko falling second, 189.1 words per minute. I'm taking a look here at the other group. Pickle Power, Matthew Yang, CS, all of them looking pretty close now, coming in ahead. And Lanny pulls ahead. That's Kathy, if I'm not mistaken, right ahead of Sean there. That's interesting to see. So we see Chak with the really decided, out of the gates, over 200 words per minute score there. I would think there'd be a few difficult things about this quote. It is a pretty short quote, but there are a couple things to pay mind to. The words like opportunity, for example, that has a couple double letters in there, and things like that in a short quote like that won't affect it too much. We obviously saw most of the typists did a good job getting fine scores, but in longer quotes, things like that might start to become difficult. It seems like a small thing, but at this level of play, everything about how the letters fit into your fingers on the QWERTY board, the keyboard, all makes a big difference. We didn't see, there was one player not using a QWERTY board layout, but a Dvorak layout in the top 25. He unfortunately did not make the cut this morning, but that would have been an interesting thing to talk about too, for that difference, because obviously, where you're typing is going to make a difference. Some keyboard layouts are more favored towards certain kinds of quotes. It makes sense because, again, it's a physical thing. It has to do entirely with how our fingers and our hands work together. I'm taking a look now at that, the scores there from that last competition. Yeah, so Anthony Chak getting a huge 203 words per minute, also 100% accuracy, something to note there. And then taking a look at VL here too, also 180. Kathy getting 181. And these are very decided, very important races, of course, to try it and do your best for. Of course, we're going to be considering the groups all together in the end to find the top 4. But this is definitely, each quote is really important. So I think what the competitors now are thinking, players like Chak might be thinking, okay, that was pretty good. I need to keep it up. And maybe players not getting quite as good scores as they're excited for. Maybe Matthew Yang, for example, with the 158, thinking, okay, I did good, but I want to do better so I can start to push ahead. Then again, I want to remind you that Matthew Yang was the 25th seed coming into the tournament this morning, 25th out of 25. And so him being in the top 10, I think he's pretty happy with that already. I mean, that's pretty awesome for him. we're just getting the rest of the scores in here too. And when looking forward, right, to see all the different things that affect how fast you can type the quote. Obviously, like we were talking about just a second ago, the mechanics of, I'm going to call it like the architecture of the words, because how your hands, it's when you start to type words out, right, you can tell. Like in chat, I want you to type out the word power right now, Power. That word on the QWERTY board is one of the fastest words to type out. But there are other words that are really difficult to type out and slow you out. So you can tell that, you know, obviously where the keys are important to how fast you can type out words. So as we move forward, that's something you'll want to consider, looking at the quotes too, maybe trying them yourself, seeing where you might stumble up. Like we saw, most people just powered through pretty well, pretty swimmingly in that last quote, since it was a short one. But again, you get confounded by one weird word in maybe a 500-word quote or something of, you know, a bit more density to it. It might throw off your tempo, you know, your momentum a little bit. And that's yet another thing. The chat's a little behind, but I see the powers now. Thank you guys for cooperating. Flow is definitely a thing. It's not unique to typing, but rather it's something that is intrinsic, I think, to all competitions, right? Athletes, esports athletes, and typists alike talk about flow or momentum or whatever word they like to use. There's not like a physical, tangible way you can measure it, but it's definitely something each competitor feels psychologically. If you start doing well and you keep doing well, you're gonna be riding that wave and doing as best as you can. But when you have a little mess up here and there, it might totally mess with your flow, which is detrimental to your play. So, like I said earlier, in a competition like this, each competitor is tested by, you know, how they can handle the stress, how they can stay strong, and how they can move forward to type at the best of their abilities. Looks like we're just getting those last scores inputted there. Now, something interesting I want to know, Izzy came out of the top 25 with a really decided second place, first place. He came out with one of the top scores, but he didn't look too hot in this quote right here. He was one of the bottom ones with 142.9 words per minute. So we have to think about how that might affect him. You know, again, we're talking about that flow earlier. You're riding that wave. You're typing as fast as you possibly can, and you're getting really good scores. And all of a sudden, after an hour break, getting ready for the event, you don't type quite as fast as you're ready. So we'll see how players bounce back from that with that couple minutes break between that race and now, which we're about to get started up, I think. How can they keep that momentum, or how can they start to build their own momentum? Let's find out. It's like we're just about getting ready here, moving into the racetrack. Sean's room as the leader of the last game. He'll have the clout behind him, but again, each quote is a different experience, a different opportunity. And we're just loading in the other room as well in just a moment here. And again, all you can think about now is how each player must be trying to manage their psychology here in this stressful situation. We're just getting loaded in here in a second. Loading up. Okay, so here is a quote from Wikipedia about the Statue of Liberty. Now, something I want to point out here, these academic short quotes, it's a good way to burst out your typing speed, but again, there's the little pitfalls in here, like the weird words, particularly the French that pops in here. I mean, if you're French Canadian, maybe you have an advantage there. But the punctuation and things like that, those all add a little bit of difficulty at the end there. I also want you guys to pay attention at the bottom of the quote. There's a date coming up too, so we'll see how the competitors deal with that. In Sean's room, Sean's pulling ahead with the lead quite decidedly, getting a bit of momentum there at the end. Chak again pulling ahead with the lead, 170.5 words per minute, finishing out first in his room, and Sean pulling out 145 words per minute, going ahead in his room. We see Kathy right behind at 134.9 in his, Eco at 144.5, Typer Unknown 131.2. Slow Izzy in his room at 124.8, Pickle Power 114.4, VL at 118.4, Adam Ski at 111.7 words per minute. So we see, again, another turnout. I'm surprised too. Izzy doing a little bit better in third place, but the 124 words per minute speed, I'm not sure if he's entirely happy with that. Sean gets a really strong speed here, pulling out at first in his room. But let me point this out, that both Chak got crushingly fast speed over everyone else in this difficult looking quote. Consider typing those parentheses. I know we're talking about these tiny little things that seem like tiny little things. The parentheses, the colons, all these things are not just taxing on your fingers and physically demanding to be slow, but also mentally too. You have to think, how do I actually type a parenthesis? It's not as commonly typed. So for these guys, it's something that they're used to doing, and that's how we can see scores like Chak's come out. But I wanna point out that I just exited out. So, oh no, it's still here. Okay, Chak got 170 and first in his room. Sean got 145 and first in his room. But the second place in Chak's room, Emre Aiko's score was 144.5 words per minute. So I think that's interesting to see how that the second place of Chak's room, Aiko, is just as fast, almost just as fast as Sean in his room. I think there's a lot of opportunity for fresh talent through events like these two. And again, you have to think psychologically too, how the players are dealing with these. In the room, you're in a room with other players, and you know that as a typist, your ability is only ever guided by your own intrinsic ability as a typist. But of course, as people, and in a competition, we're going to look at others in our room and compare ourselves. So it makes me wonder if Aiko saw Chak typing at 170 and thought to himself, I can do better, and pulled up to 145 words per minute. Whereas Sean in the other room got 145 words per minute as well, but we didn't see people quite as close to Chak or Aiko's speed in either room there. Taking a look at some of the accuracies too. Yeah, this you can tell too. Adam got definitely. I'm sure he's not happy with that score. He got 111.7 words per minute with a 96.9% accuracy. That's where you see that that those difficulty with those punctuation marks coming in, and really slows you down. Kind of throws a banana in your racetrack, to make an analogy to Mario Kart. But this is where you can start to see how experience is also a big factor with how well you can deal with some of these difficult quotes. Sean Rona's been doing this most all his entire life, and he's over twice Adam's age here, who's the youngest member of our top 10 at age 14, which is already an incredible feat by its own merit. So again, we'll see how experience and raw skill and adaptability come into play as we get more and more quotes coming at us. Izzy also struggled with that quote too, I think. Izzy was showing a much stronger performance earlier today in the top 25 cutoff, getting seated very high, but and coming into the top 25 as well, being seated very high. One of the few players with over 200 words per minute average coming in this morning. But there he struggled to get 97.4% accuracy with 121.5 weighted words per minute, 124.8 words per minute. So you know, again, it's that punctuation. It's all the little tricky things that come with the beginning and end of a introductory Wikipedia article paragraph. So again, we have to see how players are ready to quickly adapt, ready to quickly see what's on the screen, throw it in your mind, and throw it out on the keyboard. See chats going off, rooting for their supported picks right now. It's fun to see everybody choosing someone they want to see win. If you want to see Chak win today, type 1 in chat. If you want to see Sean win today, type 2 in chat. We could get some support. If you want to see Izzy win today, put 3 in chat. We could get some, or just type out the name of who you want to see moving forward today in chat. Who's your pick? Who are you a fan of today? Show your love and support for your typist in the chat. Let's hear it. Looks like we're just warming up now for one room. We'll see how the players feel after, again, another bit of a break here between these races. Oh, getting things sorted out. And we're almost ready here. If I'm a competitor, I have to think to myself, you know, I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm just going to focus on the typing itself, the racing itself, and nothing else. That's, of course, what you try and tell yourself as a typist and as a competitor in general. But again, we'll see how each person deals with it. It looks like we're getting a quote from Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. We see the room, Chak's room coming in at it. Chak pulling ahead now with 177 words per minute. Adam Sky, though, pulling ahead with 170, 160 words per minute, showing, hey, you know, I got in this tournament for a reason. Everyone doing pretty fast here. Taking a glance real quick at the other room, we see everyone pulling ahead pretty quick. Matthew Yang with 168, showing a nice dominance over Sean and even Izzy. Chak, oh my gosh, looking incredible with over 200 inhuman speeds on his side, pulling ahead, making Aiko's 170 look slow by comparison. Absolutely bonkers. We see everyone a little more neck and neck in Matthew Yang, Sean, and Lanny's room. Really close speeds here. The thing about this sort of quote, notice how all the text is very typical language here. You know, it's not as much of an academic text. Chak pulls ahead with the victory, 189.7 words per minute in his room. Aiko coming in a bit after at 166.9 per minute. Really close finish. Oh my goodness. Sean barely winning by 0.4 words per minute over Kathy. And then Kathy barely winning over Matthew, who gets third by 0.2 words per minute difference. This is a really close, really critical difference here. And if I'm Sean right now, I am thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I just won that, because that was a very very close one. Same with Kathy too, being, you know, just above Matthew there. These little things will make a big difference here in the long run of seeing who gets in the top 4. Looking at the quote itself too, I think some of the difficult things in this quote might have been the listing of the things included this number, period, spacebar pattern, which again, one of those things that doesn't seem too hard, but when you're trying to type out really fast, it's another thing that might throw you off. So it's something that the typists had to adapt to. Clearly we see Chak with the seemingly insurmountable 200 words per minute through most of that. It looks like he came out though with 189 words per minute. That's right. I'm looking at the scores right now, but still, again, really dominant performance by Chak. Nothing new there. And then in the Group B, again, we see really neck and neck, all 162 point something scores from first, second, and third place. It's really a nail biter for them. And yeah, again, interesting to see too. Aiko in Group A, although he got second by quite a big margin between himself and Chak, was ahead of first, second, and third in Group B. it makes me wonder, like if we took out, say, Kathy or Izzy from Group B and replaced them with Viel or Aiko, would they perform better seeing Chak go at a higher speed? It's something to consider, psychologically when you're racing in a room with other people. And then we're just setting up for the next room here. Getting ready to go. Looking on the accuracy in that quote, you can see too, nobody got below 98.4% accuracy. That was the lowest, was 98.4. Compare that to the previous quote where it looks like about half of the people got under 98%, 97, and some even 96 point some percent accuracy. Again, seems like a really trite thing. Seems like it shouldn't matter too much, but it does make a big difference in these kind of races at these levels of speed. And of course, that's with all the parentheses and the colons and all of the punctuation, the characters that require multiple keystrokes. That's another thing to consider too. Having things that require a shift something will, of course, take more time and more energy physically and mentally to get that typed out. So there's really a lot of balls for each typist to juggle here. And really a lot of factors to consider when you're thinking, okay, how will the typists perform on these quotes? We're just starting to get ready almost for this next race. Let's think about momentum. Let's think about flow here. Who I would say, personally, I think Chak right now has incredible momentum as it stands. I think Chak, despite being, a relatively young, has incredible momentum right now and is sailing ahead. I think Sean also has really good momentum, but I would be looking over my shoulder a bit if if I were him, because that last race showed that, hey, both Izzy and Kathy are capable of being right next to you, right there, inches away. Okay. Looks like we're about to get started here. Taking a second to get ready. Let's talk about some more people. Matthew Yang had a really strong showing as well. In some of these races, I'm actually very impressed. If Matthew Yang has some insurmountable scores the next couple of races too, maybe we'll see a top 4 showing from him. Really hard to say when we have the likes of Chak, Sean, Rona, Aiko, Kathy, but again, maybe that 4th spot isn't all out of grasp. We're seeing players like Izzy not doing quite as phenomenally as I expected, just based off of their seeding and their performance this morning. It's also fun to see players like Adam Sky. He might not have done as well in all of the other quotes, but just now he had a really strong words per minute coming out the gate there. Oh, looks like we're starting. This is kind of an infamous quote from the Ultimate Typing Championship. Sean Rona should know this well. I see a bit of a smirk from Kathy there. This is, of course, the final quote typed from the Ultimate Typing Championship. And I wonder if Sean will have, I don't know, nostalgia or perhaps dread from seeing this quote. If you take a look at the bottom of your screen now, look at all those numbers. Look at all those characters. Look at all those curly brackets, capitalized words, and pink ping pong balls. This is kind of a concoction of traps and tricks made to make it difficult for our typists here. Chak pulling a decided lead, 164 words per minute over Aiko. in that room, and with the others trailing behind at around 110 between VL, Typer Unknown, and Adam Sky. Sean pulling ahead in his room with 146 words per minute, but Kathy on Yanni and Izzy not too far behind, around the 130 words per minute. Jack still pulling steady in his own room, keeping pretty strong at 160 words per minute, getting through this quotation, dialogue sort of typing action pretty fine. And again, going with these, look at this, 100% minus 10% minus equals 9%, right? Question mark, right parenthesis. Again, that's going to trip up a lot of us. But it looks like Chak is getting through this pretty well. The little bleeped words with the ampersand, caret, parentheses, dollar sign, again, that would trip me up. I think that would trip most of us up, but our typists are doing pretty well getting to those. And looks like Sean's still keeping a steady lead ahead of the others in his race as well. I think I kind of see this parallel between Sean and Chak in either of their rooms right now. And again, when I said earlier where Chak was having a much bigger word per minute, now if we glance back and forth between Chak and Sean, Chak has 146 words per minute or so, and Sean's right at 142, 143 words per minute at the moment. So it's a really close neck between those two just overall. Next up, right behind, is Lanny coming in with 128 or so words per minute. Aiko with 127 words per minute. Again, we're getting into the weird part of the quote now, where we have the alphabet in all caps and a bunch more random symbols. Again, this is really a test of how well you know the obscurer parts of the keyboard. Unfortunately, Pickle Power is having a lot of trouble with this. I think we see a lot of typists are mostly used to typing, words that exist in the English language, normal stuff. But seeing all these moon scribbles with characters you're not used to typing on the keyboard can make it a challenge for everyone, especially when we have to take a second for them. Again, we're still seeing Chak pull ahead decidedly in his, and Sean decidedly in his. If we look though in the other room with VL and Aiko are pretty close, pretty neck and neck for the next spot. They're going back and forth between each other in this dialogue. It's really a question of comfortable typing out all these quotation marks, ellipses, parentheses, etc. Bit more of a spread in Sean's room, with all of them a bit further apart. Another thing to consider too, if you actually read this quote a bit, it's telling this weird story about pink ping pong balls, and so it says that phrase quite a bit actually, pink ping pong balls. I think that's the saving grace of this quote. What will give you little bursts of speed here and there is every time you see pink ping pong balls, because it's not that it's super easy or super difficult to type. It's just that it appears so much, and it's like a moderately easy thing to type that it's kind of like you just memorize it by the fifth time you get to it in the quote, and you can just burst it out real quick. Those are the kinds of saving grace that players like Aiko and VL or Kathy and Matthew Yang are going to have to hold on to and try their best to use that to their advantage. That one grip to sanity in this long quote to try and maybe sneak in a second place victory. But I don't see the lead of Sean and or Chak being lost anytime soon. Still seeing this decidedly. Chak pulling up to an incredible 160 words per minute, but when I glance over at Sean's, he's also pulling up to 160 words per minute. You can start to see how your WPM speed in long quotes like this is decided by a whole multitude of factors, right? Because, of course, in the middle there's that alphabet, there's all that weird punctuation. But look towards the end of this quote here. It's pretty much just normal language. So seeing this kind of gives away to maybe like this latter portion is more on the 190 side, but that middle portion is more on the 110 side. So letting our players raise up their average to 163 words per minute or so. Again, just glancing between them, Chak right now pulling ahead at 164 words per minute, so close to the finish line, just in the couple last bit of quotes here. Some difficult words here, but nothing that typists like Chak or Sean are not used to. We'll see who finishes first, though. And it looks like Chak pulls out just ahead and finishes with a 165.4 words per minute average. Sean with a 161.6 words per minute average, but almost a whole percent more accurate than Chak. I think this kind of shows to Sean's experience with typing. He's good at what I've noticed so far. Of course, he's good at these obscure kind of quotes because he's been so familiar with it that he's able to just quickly get all those, use all his digits to get all those digits, haha, and all those extra punctuation quickly. And then long quotes as well. I think he has, if we talk about last year, Sean didn't win against Chak in the clicking championship because the tournament lasted 10 hours. But today we are running, logistically speaking, perfectly. So, Sean has fresh adrenaline here and has really good tenacity with these longer quotes, as you can clearly tell with that 99.4% accuracy. We're seeing now the second place people pulling in here. Let's see, Aiko at 136.2 words per minute, kind of close, neck and neck to him. Looks like they're still finishing up there. Looks like Kathy just finished in the other room at 136 words per minute, and Izzy just behind at 134.5 words per minute. Not quite the close range we saw in the last race, but nonetheless, this is kind of a marathon of a quote here. So, of course, it's going to be difficult. Matthew Yang pulls in at fourth in his room, 128.5 words per minute, and Typer Unknown getting in that last place there in a second here, it looks like. Probably going to finish somewhere around 121 words per minute. Unfortunately, Pickle Power is really struggling here, getting in that end there around 110 words per minute, but hopefully he can get some nice bursts here at the end where he's just finishing up that quote. And again, this last part isn't the most difficult, but of course, after minutes and minutes of speed typing, your fingers are going to be tired, your brain's going to be tired, and every other part that types will be tired. So just finishing up here almost. We'll see how his words per minute fits into all of this, but that'll definitely be the last place for this round. Looking over too, again, we see a really dominant performance neck and neck between Sean and Chak. That's really exciting for me to watch. This is Sean defending his title in from a decade break from the Ultimate, not a break, but a decade and a 10-year anniversary of the Ultimate Typing Championship. And now we're back at it in an online format, and we're seeing unbelievable speeds still, and unbelievable champions will be made today. So that's something exciting to look forward to. Now we'll see how the scores punch in here, and then we'll be on our way now to the last race coming up just shortly. And I'm taking a look at the overall ranks right now. It looks like currently we have, if I'm reading this scoreboard correctly, it looks like at the moment, Chak, Aiko, Sean, and Kathy are slated to make it into top 4. Not too many surprises there, but I'm wondering about players like VL, who right now is ranked 5th overall, or also Matthew Yang, honestly, who's doing really well. I'm wondering about these kinds of players. Can they have a phenomenal break right here? Maybe they'll get that burst of speed, that Deus Ex Machina that typists always look for. It almost does feel like rolling the dice. Will this quote be something astronomically fast, or will it be something I fudge up a bit on and fall over my fingers? So I'm sure all of the typists here, and of course, players like Kathy and those in the bottom of the top 4 seating here, they're going to want to hold on to that. So we'll see how that momentum stacks up. I think all the typists might be a little bit tired now after that quote. Fortunately for those who finished earlier, I guess, primarily Sean and Chak, they did get a little break because they finished so quickly. But the fatigue might already be kicking in. We'll see, though, how this turns up in this next race. Just loading in here momentarily. And then, yeah, Matthew, I'm really impressed by Matthew Yang today, honestly. Like I mentioned earlier, he's kind of a huge underdog in the fact that he almost didn't make the cutoff for the top 25, and now he's here. And now he's doing pretty well. He's doing very well. So we'll see how that looks moving forward. And I'm sure all these typists will be proud of what they've done. Looks like we're just getting loaded in here. Again, I'm wondering which quote they're going to see. You know, are they going to see another endurance quote? Are they going to see a really quick burst quote to finish it off? Are they going to see another kind of obscure quote? We'll find out shortly. I also like to see too some typists, like I noticed Viel, for example. There is one moderate-sized quote. Thinking back now, let me look over the score sheet here. One moderate-sized quote that Viel did a really good job at finishing highly. Yeah, he got, in the first race, he got 180 words per minute. And if I recall, that was a pretty normal quote here. But now we're going to get into this next race and see how it goes along. We see Viel coming out the gate really fast. Here's I guess more of that normal quote. I guess we're talking about, you know, pretty normal language here. It's a song by John Lennon, so nothing too difficult jargon, nothing with too much weird punctuation. Just a pretty classical. Oh, who converts this quote out? I honestly can't put any finger down on who's going to win this race. I think it's quite frankly anybody's game. Who's ever feeling that touch of luck right now? Lonnie pulls ahead real quick with the brief, neck and neck. Lonnie and Kathy and Sean. Who's going to beat it? It looks like Sean's pulling ahead just a bit. Oh, but Sean trips up for a second. Kathy, 171.2 for Kathy. Chak pulls ahead in his 178. And then for second place, Aiko, 161.3. Third place, Adam Sky, 159. Viel in fourth, 157. Type Unknown in fifth, 154. Pickle Power just finished up in his in fifth, 135. Second went to Sean. Third to Slow Izzy at 160. 154 to Matthew Yang. And then Pickle Power, 135. So now we're going to do some number crunching and figure out who will place where and who will proceed to the top four. If I were the typist now, I would have been wondering right before that, you know, what kind of quote will I see here? We said this ping pong balls one. We see this quote from a normal book. Earlier this morning, there was an incredibly dubious quote that had the alphabet spelled multiple times incorrectly, and then the alphabet all caps lock with commas and spaces in between each letter. Really terrible, really evil, I would say, to the typists, because, you know, as a typist, you look at words, you look at sentences, and you type those things out in bulk. You don't think about each individual keystroke, each individual letter. And when you get a quote like that, you know, with all those weird spellings, non-English words, it really throws your brain for a loop, and you got to focus on more minuscule things. And so we're just going to figure out who placed where. And that's going to take a minute here. But in the meantime, we can talk about who almost definitely got in, which was Chak. I think he got first every single round in his group. Yeah, Chak is such a dominant performer today. And a year ago, he was also an incredibly dominant performer. He came back from the Clicking Championship, where he surmounted Sean Rona last year, was a double elimination, grueling, 10-hour-long tournament, and he had been knocked down to the losers bracket, won in the losers finals, came back, won in the winners finals, knocking it to an upset bracket where he had to beat Sean Rona again, who hadn't lost a set until just then. And he won 2 sets in a row and beat Sean Rona. And it was something incredible that I had never seen before. I'm I'm just imagining, right? When he's 17 now, and so when Sean Rona got the Ultimate Typing Championship victory in 2010, he would have been 7 years old. he would have been 7 years old then. So to see 10 years later, you get a competitor who give you, if not a run for your money, a defeat is something that's incredible and definitely not something to be, looked over quickly. I mean, this sounds like a old generational thing too, but young people today are immersed in typing from the earliest parts of their life. So I think that definitely has a big part of play. You know, typists are starting younger and younger. Our youngest competitor here is 14 years old, and he's keeping up with the likes of Sean Rona and a lot of these quotes. He's just, we're just working on getting that experience now, but with the more and more growing community, that experience is coming quicker and quicker. So it's really interesting to see the evolution of typing, competitive typing, speed typing as a whole. Like his case, I think he said that at age 4 or 5, he started typing, so that's not something that you would have really considered maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. So typists are getting faster and faster. And the rate at which they're getting faster is getting faster. I think we're still doing some number crunching at the moment here. But we'll be shortly, we'll get to the leaderboard and see the top 4 here. Chat, if there's someone that, you're not sure if they made it into the top 4, or if you're sure they made it in the top 4, if there's someone you're rooting for in chat, I just want you to type their name out in chat. Let the player know that you're supporting them and you want to see them do well this tournament. Type out the player you want to see do well. But yeah, I see some Matthew Yang fans, Chak fans, Sean fans. I wanna hear your voices in the chat. Let's see some support. Imagine we're at a big stadium and people are, actually cheering the names out and stuff. But we can do it virtually. We're just figuring this out here. We were talking about momentum and flow earlier. We want to think about how that might carry out for a player like Chak, because yes, of course, huge pressure is on Sean Rona for wanting to defend his title. But I think Chak is probably dealing with a lot of competitive pressure right now too, because he's the young new typist making a huge scene in this community, and he has the pressure to perform up to those expectations. He won the clicking championship last year. He has an incredible 200 words per minute. I'd like to point out too that to qualify for the top 10, there was a week period where typists could type as many and grind out as many races as they wanted to try and get that that words per minute speed average that they wanted. Some typists took a while. Apparently, apparently one of the people who qualified into the top 25, who didn't make the cut this morning, Jesse Garcia. I'm calling him Jesse the People's Champ Garcia because he did over 9,000 races, apparently, to get into the top 25 qualifying spots to compete today. So that's something phenomenal to consider that. And I commend you, Jesse Garcia, for your dedication. Meanwhile, and this is again where I bring up the point that Chak has all this immense pressure on him because he has this raw talent, I think, that we're still learning about now. He came in with less than, I want to say, 60 races and qualified for the top 25 and didn't need to do any more. He ended up, being third in the top 25, but the next people above him had to do, several hundred races to get a score they were happy with. So it's something incredible when you consider the amount of pure talent just out there and the amount of dedication and practice required. There's no one simple trick to being a quick or fast typist, I would say, and I think most would agree with me there. But it's just a matter of honing and improving your craft like any other skill or competitive thing or sport. How well are you able to practice? How smart are you able to practice and steadily improve your scores? I'm wondering if we're starting to hit that ceiling, but I think that we're just starting to break through it. I think if Chak can regularly get these seemingly inhuman scores of 200 words per minute pretty regularly, I don't, not to take anything away from Chak, but I don't see why others, won't soon start being able to do the same thing as more and more attention is brought to this incredible community. So, today, I think a lot of competitors and soon champions are being forged by this battle, I guess. Maybe that sounds a little cheesy, but honestly, I mean, we're experiencing this competition together and we're all growing as a community, as spectators, as people organizing this event, and as commentators, so, and as typists, of course. So we're all pushing forward to Mach 10 or whatever, and pushing to some amazing new levels of technique and ability that haven't been seen before. So I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited for the rest of today. We're still working on getting those final scores out. I see people are people have catchphrases in the chat that they're yelling out. It's always fun streaming these events. Again, too, I'd like to point out, it's hard to remember this when you're watching these incredibly fast typists over and over again. You yawn when you see 140 words per minute. Think about how fast, not to call you guys out, but think about how fast you type, or I can type, or your average Joe Schmo can type. I read that apparently it's considered to be fast if you're around 80 or so words per minute, and most people will consider you pretty fast. Like I said at the very beginning of the stream, I consider myself pretty fast at 120 words per minute. It's inhuman almost that we can see these people and judge them, oh, that wasn't their best performance at 130 words per minute on a quote with lots of weird symbols, punctuation, and that takes 3 minutes to type out about ping pong balls. That's incredible that we're at that position, and it's something that I have to remind myself too when I'm commentating on this. The lowest scores we've seen have been like 110 words per minute. And that's already well above most people's normal expectations. So I think that's something that's really humbling to consider and important to remember when we're looking at the levels of skill that we're dealing with here today. Another thing that I've also been excited looking at this event is that we have a lot of collegiate things going on. Of course, notably Kathy Chang from the UCI esports department, getting good representation there in Irvine, and there was some other competitors representing other universities as well. Oh, okay, it looks like we have the leaderboards up now. So yes, in first place, it looks like we have Chak moving on to the semifinals, and then in second place we have Anthony Ermelin, Chak, sorry, Emre Aiden Aiko in second, moving on. In third place we have Sean Rona. And in fourth place, we have Kathy Chang. So we got a nice mix of young, fresh competitors and more seasoned competitors. And I'm really excited to see how this will move on to the semifinals. Um, I'm kind of surprised that to see Sean in third. It looks like I was kind of hinting at this, I guess, throughout those races, but um, Aiko is almost, pulling right up to Jack and saying, "Hey, I'm right here." A lot of those races I saw, um, Aiko was getting second, well behind Jack in some of them, but if you compared it to Sean's score in the same race, it was about the same speed. So we're seeing these incredible levels of talent being achieved today. I'm wondering how with this little break between um, the opening, 25, and there was rest, and then we got the top 10, and now we're figuring things out from 5-10 minutes ago when that last race conspired, and now we're just getting ready to go into the semifinals momentarily. You have to put yourself in the head of one of these competitors right now and think, how are they dealing with that? When I did competitive stuff as a kid, I would always, remember, okay, deep breaths, count to 10, whatever it was, just maintain your focus and maintain your drive on doing what it is that, you need to do to compete to the best of your ability. We're going to see that culminate soon. So best of luck to all these players, Kathy, Sean, Emery, Anthony. It's great to see familiar faces here in the top 4 again, and I'm really excited to see how this turns out. We have to be wondering too what kinds of quotes we'll be seeing. It looks like that last group of quotes ended with a nice kind of moderate short quote with not too many difficult words, and those are the kinds of quotes that I feel like anybody has a really good chance to try and flex their might. And you need that, I don't want to say lucky, but you need that moment, that draft to pick up, that wind to ride, to really get that push to put yourself above the others. That's where I feel like any of those 10 players we just saw, could have a chance to win. When it's those kind of short quotes with a lot of regular language. It's the super long quotes, that test your endurance. It's the quotes with a lot of intricate characters and punctuation, or quotes that are difficult to type out because of the architecture of how you need to assort your hands. All that sort of thing is, they're all testing different skills. And like I mentioned earlier, we want to find the ultimate typing champion today. So we're going to be testing all those different kinds of things with different kinds of quotes here. So you have to be wondering, what kind of quotes are we going to see next? We're just getting things sorted out, and soon we'll be ready for the semifinals. Looking too at the overall seeds, one of the I want to talk about those who didn't make it into this portion of the race. So Izzy Aroetti, who seeded second and did really well this morning getting into the top 10, had, I think, a bit of a disappointing performance for himself, I'm sure. He did great getting up to here, but it's like we say, in tournaments, on tournament day, you can be the week before, the day before, the moments before, you can be performing to the top of your ability, but right at the moment of the tournament, will you be able to get the score you need to push yourself through? And sometimes that just doesn't happen. Even to quote a great song, even the best fall down sometime. So of course, everything is on the day, but that's that other thing about competition is you got to see how you're able to perform up to the pressure, up to all the random variables that you can't train for when it's not the day of the championship. We're just about getting things ready here. And I am excited to see what our first quote will contain. I've personally seen all the quotes in advance, so I can know what to talk about with them as we see them. As I mentioned earlier, none of the contestants have seen them, but I don't know the order of the quotes, and of course I won't be spoiling the contents of future quotes. So I don't know, what this next quote will be. Neither do any of our contestants. So, you can't prepare for this necessarily. You can only just be your best self, your best typist self. I think right now, Chak is the favorite to do really well in this event, but I think actually it's going to be really close to see who will make the runner-up pick. Of course, the favored is, Sean based off experience, but if I'm reading the scores correctly, it seems like Aiko did quite a bit better than Sean in the last part there, so we might not even see Sean in the finals. But of course, the past doesn't matter now. We're in the top 4. We'll see how everybody does here now, and maybe I'll be totally wrong. Maybe none of my picks will make it in. But let's see. We're just getting in here now. It seems like we're about to be starting. Okay. Looks like we have another Wikipedia article quote. Has some difficult punctuation, particularly that date in the middle. Looks like everybody's pretty neck and neck there. Chak pulls out first again, and let's see him if he soars ahead here. It's actually really difficult to follow who's winning because this is going by so quickly here. Look at these words like epistemological, epistemology, international bureau. These words that trip us up. It looks like most of them are getting through pretty well. Chak stutters for a second on 1934. Not sure if that's the connection or him, but it looks like now he's pushing ahead, got through that quotation mark period spacebar pretty fine, and he's starting to take the lead there, and it seems like he's about to finish it up now with 176.6 words per minute. Good victory by Chak there. Now we see it's really neck and neck with these last 3 contestants, honestly flipping back and forth. I cannot say who's going to get here. It depends on who manages to type out these last couple words here. Sean getting in second. Okay, there it is. 141 from Sean. Aiko in third, 137, and then Kathy, Lonnie at fourth, and 126. It was really a toss-up who would get that second place run there. Really close between Aiko and Sean, but Sean managed to pull ahead there at that last part, getting second. So again, you're going to have to think of, your perspective as the typist here in this situation. We just got this, again, semi-difficult quote, I would say, with, these technical words, these philosophical words, and of course, that dastardly punctuation, those parentheses, colons, commas, etc. All kind of just like little traps thrown into the road to try and steer off the typists from their course, I would say. And again, Chak pulled a pretty decided victory, a couple notches ahead of Sean, but between Sean, Kathy, and Aiko, it was really neck and neck. So while yes, of course, we see Chak and Sean as the decided victors of that first round, I don't think I can really predict who's going to take this second place spot in the next one or overall to come in the rest of these races here. We're just about getting ready for the second race now, and again, you have to think how are you feeling after that race? Was it as fast as you wanted? I'm sure all of them probably are criticizing themselves in some way about how they could be even faster. They're all dealing with this difficulty of the competition here. but we'll see how that manifests in the next race. And again, you're going to have to wonder how the quote will affect, your typing, of course, and what kind of quote is going to come up next. There's obviously a big question as to, is it going to be a long quote, difficult quote, all those different kinds of quotes. You got lots of different opportunities to persevere and show. I would say that I would pretty safely say, I think if it's a long quote, I feel like Sean would have a bit of an advantage there, because I think he's a seasoned, experienced typist, and I think he's able to really demonstrate his overall career with his overall words per minute really bursting ahead there with those longer quotes. But then again, I've seen that from Chak as well today, so it's really difficult to take away from Chak's immense success here and in the past. We're just pulling up here. We're having the quote load up in just a minute. Typists ready. Look at their fingers on the keyboards, ready to burst ahead. And it looks like we're seeing another Wikipedia article excerpt about new 7 wonders of nature. Some slightly weird spellings here, and words that are proper nouns from other languages. Look ahead at some of these words here. You see things like Brazilian state of Parana, Ha Long Bay in Quang Ninh province. Look at all those capitalized, short, uniquely spelled words in a row. Clearly it's having an effect on the typists. Look ahead at Chak, Sean, Lonnie. These guys aren't getting the 180s they're quite used to here. Chak and Sean pretty close, but Chak still a good chunk ahead with 156. Kathy not far behind Sean, but it looks like Chak and Sean, for this victory here. That 17,508 part might throw them off a little bit. Looks like they all are dealing fine with it now. We get a big list of countries here. Let's see how they type it out. Looks like Chak does it just fine. Sean not far behind at all, 147 to 151. Kathy pulling in at third now with 136, and Aiko trailing a bit behind at fourth, getting these last couple of country names out here at 120.1 words per minute. I think that one was definitely a little closer between Chak and Sean than the last one. Look at that. It's only a 4 word per minute difference there. We kind of start to see these two a little more neck and neck, and I think that's something we can look forward to as the races go on. It's really, I think, a big chunk of it is about closing the gap, and we'll see how all these competitors are able to do that. If I am Aiko or Kathy right now, I'm thinking, okay, how do I reset? I need to start building my own wave and riding it. Particularly devastating for Kathy, I think, because she was so close to pulling ahead at second. Both races, quite honestly, it wasn't that far at all from there. And then Aiko was really close to the first race too, but there's a bit more of a gap dug here in this last race, I think, in that words per minute discrepancy there. Yeah, look at this. We see the first race, it was Aiko was second in the first race, not far behind Sean at all, with a 4 words per minute difference. But now look at this. I think that loss maybe got to him a little bit, because now we see a 120 words per minute average, 116 when you count for the 96% accuracy too. It looks like the proper nouns, the punctuation, that all took a toll on Aiko's accuracy there a bit. That's the lowest accuracy we've seen so far in the top 4. All of them struggled a bit, but of course Sean is dealing with superb accuracy here, 99.6% on that last one. Maybe he's a lot more familiar with countries of the world. Whatever it is, he was able to get a really high accuracy there. And again, I'd like to remind you guys of context. They were all above 95% accuracy, which is already astounding at these speeds. Looks like we're about to get ready for this Last one here. Here is another Wikipedia article excerpt about the Avogadro constant, taking you back to your high school chem days. Looking like the competitors are just typing away blazing fast at this. This should be something they just quickly burst through, but if they're looking ahead, they see a bit of a quagmire ahead of them with defining the reciprocal. Well, that word itself, reciprocal, but of course that big series of digits. Slows Chak down a bit, but after that, he doesn't really care. He's pulling out ahead, 167.7 words per minute. A whopping victory from him. Sean trailing quite behind at 140, Aiko behind at 130.5, and Kathy just finishing it out here at 112. A bit of a weaker showing from Kathy here. I'm guessing those numbers definitely took a number on her word. I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that. That was a terrible pun. On her words per minute average. And, but again, really dominant performance here from Chak. Incredible, quite frankly. He didn't really care that there was a bunch of weird numbers in a row. You know, it didn't really faze him at all. That's a testament to a fast typist's, you know, accuracy and ability to hammer out characters we're not always familiar with. Did he dab? I missed it. So it looked like he dabbed on screen. I was too focused on the quote itself. That's hilarious. Well, I'm sure Chak feels pretty good about himself coming out of that race. And it looks like we're moving ahead, going forward to the next parts soon. Chak even getting a 99.3% accuracy. And here's something that surprises even me. Chak had 27 words per minute average faster than Sean, and 0.3% more accurate than Sean as well. That's 99.3 to 99. Incredible. That's some Super Saiyan Deus Ex Machina, you know, lightning coming out of his eyes. Incredible ability that, you know, not only is he blazingly fast at this quote, he's also blazingly accurate too, and that's fantastic for him. So definitely he's going to try and keep riding this momentum, although we have seen 3 short moderate quotes in a row. So I'm wondering if we're going to get a long one coming up soon, or a really obscure punctuation one coming up soon. We will see momentarily. Looks like we're having just a bit more before. And then, unfortunate for Kathy, that last race, I think the that part about, you know, the 6.022, etc. I passed chem years ago, so I don't have to remember that. But part definitely took a number on the accuracy there, with a 96.7 accuracy, slightly lower than the 96.8 accuracy from Aiko the previous round. Just notice how all these accuracies are, above 95%, which is already astounding. But again, we see that definitely took a hit, and on her speed adjusted with the accuracy comes out to 108.3 or 112 before you multiply by that accuracy words per minute. Again, definitely a difficult quote, but I don't think that was Kathy's best work on that one. I think definitely she, in a different day, on a different time, maybe even if we just did it again right now, hypothetically, I'm sure we could have seen a much faster speed than 112. And of course, I'm not saying this to discredit Chak at all, but I think any of these racers could have blazed ahead on the right, if they're riding the right current that day, if they're in the better flow that day. But Chak has been demonstrating time and time again throughout this race and throughout his career now, that he's really good at finding that flow. So we'll see how the other competitors deal with it, and if that flow remains steady for the duration of this quote and in this tournament. So, if I'm Kathy or Aiko right now, I know that I'm going to have a really big uphill battle to climb here, since the previous 3 rounds was to Chak and Sean, respectively. We'll see how they deal with trying to dig themselves out of this hole, and how Chak and Sean work with keeping themselves in the top position. They want a shot at that finals and, want a taste of the victory. Okay, so here's a longer quote we've been talking about. Maybe this will have a slightly different turn of events, because it's definitely a different style of typing that's being tested here. More of that endurance typing. The words aren't so difficult. We're seeing language that is pretty regular English with some more intricate words. Of course, this is from the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech. And that is actually a really important part of the speech, is the "I have a dream" portions of it. Obviously, the meaning of the speech as a whole, but in terms of typing it out, every time you see that "I have a dream that," it's kind of like the pink ping pong balls thing from that quote earlier today. Every time you see that, you can kind of think, okay, boom, I'll just hammer that out. And that's sort of like a set phrase you have to work with. Looks like everybody got through MISSISSIPPI really quick, but that's actually pretty difficult to type. Look at all those 3 double letters, SS, SS, and PP, and your left ring finger is one of the weakest on your body. Another thing that is to be considered here, it looks like they're coming up to it right now, and they all kind of took a slowdown at it. Look at that "I have a dream today," right where they just passed by. That's the first time that, or one of the first times that, instead of saying "I have a dream that," it says "I have a dream today." Again, this might seem like a really small thing, but that slight mix-up gives all of the typists, as we just saw, a nudge saying, you have to pay attention to what you're typing, because it can be different than what you expected. This is definitely the closest race I've seen so far. Kathy actually in the lead now with 180 words per minute. Will she be able to keep it up here and finish it with the rest of the quote? It looks like she's keeping a steady pace ahead, getting through these last words and finishing up the quote pretty strong here. And oh my God, Kathy finishes with 182.5 words per minute, 175.3 from Aiko, Sean 173.3, and Chak in last with 172.4 words per minute. It's almost the complete opposite of what we've been seeing the past 3 rounds. Now I am completely flabbergasted as to how we're going to move forward with this next race here, because that really puts into question what's going to happen here. If we see another strong race from Kathy, she might make an upset here into who gets into the top 2 here. That's incredible performance by her. Really goes to show that when you're at the top 4 competitors of this internationally acclaimed, worldwide typing extravaganza, so to speak, you can't count anyone out. That was an incredible show of force by all the typists there. And Kathy really showing what she's made of. Not only did she have that 180, she also had the highest accuracy of 99.2. While I was making a guess that Sean would be better at these longer quotes, it turns out it's true. This is an interesting thing to note here. Anthony, Chak, and Emre, they're both young. I think they're both under 20 years old, right? And Kathy and Sean are a bit older and more experienced now. So you see that on the one quote so far that's been a pretty long quote, we see our more veteran typists are pulling ahead. And I don't know if that's just a coincidence or not, or if it goes to show how we as individuals typing at a young age versus at an older age, we can hammer through fast quotes at the speed of light, but maybe longer quotes we need to take a deep breath and get through it. I think there's an interesting correlation too between accuracy and speed in these longer quotes. We've been talking about flow and momentum all day. When you have a really long quote and one little word, one little thing throws you off in the middle of it, then that's enough to throw you off your game entirely and push you up. I'm taking a look here. It looks like I don't think I'm mistaken. Maybe it looks like Sean actually got in 3rd place after all. Looks like they're checking that out. So Aiko was in 2nd. Ty in 3rd. We may have to do a tie break. Oh man. Okay, I'm getting word that things are developing. Oh, we're gonna see here. That was definitely Kathy obviously won that race, pulling fairly far ahead. But it looks like the questions of second and third place are being brought into question here. We're trying to figure out at the moment here. It's definitely really important at this stage of the game. You know, man, it's. I would have said Chak is sitting comfortably in the first place seed from this, but all of a sudden he got the fourth place seed, and that speed I don't think is in question. He definitely got the lowest speed here. Maybe we'll have to actually. I guess we're probably going to check that too, but okay, it looks like we're okay right now. But yeah, that him getting last all of a sudden after getting first 3 races in a row. Again, these it's not just if you win or not. Of course, the place you get matters too for how we calculate who moves forward. So that kind of throws things on its head a little bit. Nothing is for certain. So you know, hold on tight, cross your fingers, and hope for the best that the typist you are supporting pushes through this heated moment. So it looks like we're going to move on to the 5th and final quote momentarily. And then if we need to, if I'm understanding news correctly, if we need to, we'll have a tiebreaker race to decide who moves on into the top 2, because it is getting to that point where it is that close. Wow. I think we're starting it up in just a moment here. That's getting in here. Pushing out, and again, this is another thing. It's not just the length of the day, or the pressure of being a tournament and competing for prizes and competing, for glory. Also, things like this happen where you get so close. How will this affect Kathy, Chak, Aiko, Sean? How will this affect them? Will this change of events maybe make it difficult for some of them dealing with the pressure? What if we need to have a tiebreaker too? Again, it's these unexpected things and unforeseen difficulties that put a lot of stress and strain on the competitors, but really kind of is the polishing stone, so to speak, to bring out the best competition we can. Looks like we're still trying to load in here. Just figuring out a few last minute things. Chat, I think your typists need to hear your voices now. Chat, type in the name, the mantra, the saying, whoever you support, let them hear it. Let them hear it. If you're a Chak fan, let Chak know. If you're a Sean fan, let Sean know. If you're a Kathy fan, let Kathy know. If you're an Aiko fan, let him know. Let them hear it. This is a moment they need you the most. Give them your energy. We're just about getting things ready here. And as we wait in this tense moment, if you think it's stressful or awkward or difficult now, just imagine what the competitors must be feeling at this moment as they try and get here. Okay, looks like we're loaded in now. Looks like the quote's about to be started up momentarily. Okay, here we go. This is another Wikipedia article about a village in the Mexican state of San Luis Potosi. Again, lots of weird punctuation right off the bat, and then it looks like the rest of it isn't too bad. Some brackets, some Spanish words, some proper nouns, lots of proper nouns. Again, kind of like the quote about the wonders of the world, we get a lot of capitalizations, non-common nouns, proper nouns, some symbols here and there, and more punctuation to make things difficult. Chak, though, pulling ahead here. This is the kind of size quote that Chak likes to see when he pushes ahead. Definitely, maybe Chak's specialty, I suppose. Sean trailing right behind, and then Kathy and Aiko trailing behind them. This race looks a lot more similar to the first 3 races for sure. Seeing Chak pull ahead here now and finishing out in first with 169.3. Sean trailing right behind in second, getting past that last part, spiritual energy. Second, 154.4. Aiko in third with 142.4, and Kathy in fourth with 136.5. We're gonna have to see how that will affect getting into the last race here. I'm not exactly sure. Definitely, I mean, considering that, like I said earlier, that race just now definitely seemed more to the tune of the first 3 races. I don't know where that 4th race came out of. But that was completely different than what we've seen at all this entire top 4. We're number crunching a bit in the back here. We're going to determine if we need a tie breaker or not, but I think we have a good idea. Still figuring it out now. Let's take a look at this quote itself too, and maybe we can learn something too a bit about what these typists have to deal with. For example, in the first part of the quote, cross that idea, we got the leaderboards up right now. We don't have the championship people in quite yet. I think we're working on that at the moment. I believe, I don't want to announce it without knowing for sure. I think we all are pretty sure here, but we're waiting to figure this out. Anyway, though, as I was saying though about that quote, is there's a series of brackets, punctuation, apostrophes, non-English words, non-proper nouns, all these capitalizations, making it difficult and arduous to trek through in terms of typing it. But after that, it was pretty clear sailing for the most of that quote, and Chak pulled ahead with Chak in first, Sean in second, and then Kathy and Aiko behind there. Seemed more regular with the rest of the races so far. We're still figuring out how that factors into the grand scheme of things. I think we're about to figure it out just in a moment here. But let your champions know, let your typists you are supporting know, you're here for them. Give them your support. Again, consider too how every typist what they've done to get to this point. All the top 25 typists who all competed today, even before the stream, I think that each and every one of them should be very proud. They've all done a great job showing that they are some of the, if not the fastest, typists in the world. And All of them are to be tremendously commended. Some highlights looking back already, we see great upsets too, like the 25th seed Matthew Yang making it into the top 10. And in the top 4 as well, that race 4 race where Kathy pulled ahead with 180 words per minute in the Martin Luther King quote. That was phenomenal, and it was something that we hadn't expected at all the rest of those races. But of course, for everyone else, we see great work here. So much to be commended for everyone. And it looks like now we have the championship determined. So yeah, just as most of us thought, we do see a rematch between Chak and Sean Rona. Chak and Sean Rona pushing through to the final 2. So we're going to go ahead and take a little break here in a moment, and we'll come back with the championship. Okay, so we're here in the finals now, getting the race going on. We have Chak versus Sean, the finals you've all been waiting for. Now, this is a really big event, not just in terms of, obviously you have two great typists competing against one another, but there's a lot of history at here between Chak and Sean. Sean obviously has the history of having won this event 10 years ago, and Chak was the one to beat him last year in the clicking championship. So Sean's here to defend his title today. He's sliding a bit behind a Chak, 10 words per minute or so. I haven't even looked at the quote yet. It looks like it's the history of personal computer from Wikipedia. They're soaring through this really quick here. Lots of difficult words here with electronic. Try typing in electronic or electricity. It's kind of stressful on the left hand. Chak pulls ahead though with 182.6 words per minute, just slightly above Sean's 175. Sean's going to need to make a bit of a lead here to try and come back these next couple ones, but Chak gives himself a nice advantage at the start here to push ahead. Again, we've been talking about momentum all day here. I would be, upset if I were Sean, and I would be cautious if I were Chak, but I think both typists did an excellent job typing out astronomical speeds here at this quote, and they need to take that energy that they got from typing at those speeds and use it to try and push themselves forward against their opponent in these upcoming races. We'll see what kind of quote we get coming up here next. I'm wondering if it's going to be maybe a bit of a longer quote than the beginning of a Wikipedia article, a more technical quote perhaps, or a longer narrative quote. Either contestant will try and do their best to power through it, and we've seen time and time again both of these typists do amazingly well with whatever's thrown at them for the most part. We've seen some flubs here and there, but overall just stellar work from both Sean and Chak, hardly losing any sets to others in their groups outside of each other. I think this is kind of like a almost newfound rivalry in, going into 2020. I don't want to say rivalry because, we're all friends here. But of course, this competition between Sean and Chak is something that is always, humbling and incredible to look for. History is made, I think, every time they meet each other in a finals set, which seems like it will be happening more and more when we have more typing tournaments to come in the future, perhaps. Taking a look at some of the specifics here, it looks like, wow, this is interesting here though. While Sean was quite a bit more accurate, it looks like he had about 0.5% more accuracy. I'm looking at the numbers here. Chak finished with 98.9% accuracy to Sean's 99.4% accuracy. While Chak was a little less accurate, he did manage to crush ahead with speed and get that final victory there. We're getting in the next quote here. It's about insects, learning about different kinds of bugs. Lots of commas here, different words about bug anatomy. It's going to give either player a run for their money. This time Chak's ahead, but again, I think the gap is a little closer. This time I'm seeing them neck and neck, really back and forth here. I think a difficult thing with these kinds of quotes, with the long list of things, the commas, it's easy for us when we read to read at a comfortable pace and a pace that makes sense with human speech. You see a comma, you pause, you continue to read, so that makes sense. But when you're speed typing at this level, at the finals in the Ultimate Typing Championship 2020, you don't have that time to take that leisurely stroll through the quote. Chak pulling ahead here in the last sections of the quote here at an astronomical 205 words per minute, crossing the finish line soon in a second here, 206. It looks like he's going to take a 208.4 words per minute, 209. He's getting even faster as he gets into the last portions of the quote here with 210.4 words per minute. It's really quite something. Sean finishes in just here at 183.8 words per minute, but it's incredible when you see a speed that makes 183 words per minute look slow. This is otherworldly. 210.4 words per minute. You can subtract 100 words per minute from that, and it's still in like the 98th percentile of all typists in the world. This is the best of the best right here. That's a speed that is ridiculous. Absolutely bonkers to see, not just on typing sites in general, but on the stage floor here in the final championship bout between these two. That is something that is just spectacular to see, however you put it. And looking at a bit too, it weighs down to about a 208.9 when you account for the 99.3% accuracy. We're still crunching the numbers a bit here, but regardless, he had no problem going through that quote. I think there really wasn't. We were talking about the commas and the pauses and whatnot, but other than that, really, it was just a pretty normal quote with normal English words, no misspelled alphabets or ping pong balls, character shenanigans. So really quite. Good work from Chak to be able to pull ahead there. Sean needs to hope that he'll be able to get some of that in 200 word per minute goodness himself too, if he wants a chance to try and turn this competition around. Chak now leading 2 victories to Sean still not having taken a victory yet, but both of these close competitors. I think there's still a chance either way, of course. Chak is still riding the winds of the clicking championship from last year, I believe, and despite being against the reigning champion from the UTC, he's doing a good job here. Looks like Chak gets a bit of a slow start here, getting on this about page section of Wikipedia again. We are big fans of the free encyclopedia here. Slightly difficult words here, like collaborative. Look out for those like double letters there. Quotation marks and parentheses again make it difficult. Looks like Sean's pulling ahead from this one actually though, giving Chak a run for his money, reminding him, hey, I've been the champion from 2010 for a reason. You got to watch out for me. Oh, back and forth. It's really anybody's game here still at this point. Both at really strong speeds, 170 plus. Let's see if they have the endurance and the last speed to burst through this last part. I imagine this last part is mostly just regular text, so we'll see a sudden acceleration on both parties here. Finishing it up soon in a second. It's still anyone's game, though. It's really close, but Chak just finishes ahead with 180.7 words per minute. Chak wins the 3rd game here. Oh my. And I think at this point, it's already decided who's won. There are 5 races, and Chak is just won 3 of them. But I think we're still going to play out the remainder of the races. We are deciding that right now. But yes, Chak just decided his victory in that last match there, pulling ahead, really back and forth quote. It seemed like at one point in the middle of it, it was either person's competition to take, either person's quote to win. But at one point towards the end, Chak was just regularly a whole line ahead here. Chak took the advantage there, pushed ahead with a dominant word per minute advantage, and won. But it looks like we're going to play out the remainder of the 5 quotes anyway. And this time we can continue to talk about amazing typing. Chak can enjoy his championship seat as we go through these last couple of races here. And I hope you Chak fans in chat are happy to see a winner for the UTC. History has been made here today, folks, on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching this from. And a champion from 10 years ago has given the throne over now to Chak. And we're just going to finish out the rest of these races here. Now, this is another interesting thing. We already know Chak won, But we're going to carry out the remainder of the 5 races per the schedule. So we'll see how that affects these last 2 races to finish up the tournament and call it a day. Just reflecting on some of the stuff that's happened today. Chak's victory, while it is a surprise historically speaking, just from what happened 10 years ago and what happened today, Chak's victory isn't something that is too unprecedented when you look at his history in typing recently. His victory over Sean last year and his victory just now isn't something out of the blue. Let me remind you guys of how the qualifications worked for the top 25 here. Also, we're getting a quote about the American Constitution here. We'll see how they're typed through. Sean pulling ahead here now with the 151, but I think Chak taking his time. Not sure if he's just enjoying it or they're both racing for it. Sean looking like he's getting a good speed here, pushing ahead with the ninth burst here. And Sean pushes ahead with 172. Good victory for Sean there. I want to remind you all that Chak qualified for this tournament with 63 races and had a 200 average words per minute. Most of the other typists took several hundred races to get something like 180 some words per minute. Like I mentioned earlier, the 24th seed did over 9,000 races to get a 177 WPM average and lock his spot in the top 25. Sean did that for 200 words per minute and 63. Leisurely, he sat down, okay, I guess I'll try and get into the tournament, busted out 63 quotes, and called it a day. And then, let's see, it was Sean and one other, I think it was Aiko, if I'm not mistaken. He qualified with, Sean and Izzy also qualified with 200. I have the numbers up right here now so I can make sure I'm saying this correctly, but this is something crazy to consider. Sean took 770 races to get 203 words per minute to qualify. Izzy took 470 races to get 203.3 words per minute to qualify. And Chak took 63 races, only 63 races to get 200 words per minute to qualify. Earlier, we saw a 210 words per minute, 208 when you adjust for the accuracy, speed from Chak in the finals of this tournament. It's really something inhuman to see, and we'll see how this last quote finishes out here. Not to take away, of course, from Sean's great achievements as well. He's been right there at second this entire time, been doing amazing, and he's done so much for the typing community throughout his entire career. He's writing his own book about it. He's working on publishing a book right now, and he looks like he's pulling ahead here for a victory in this last quote. We'll see how Chak gives him a run for his money. Really close here. Oh, it looks like Chak pulls barely ahead at 163.8 words per minute to Sean's 159.6 words per minute. Either way, we see really great strides coming through both these competitors. I'm very proud of everybody who made it into the top 25 today, everyone competing who tried to get into this tournament, and of course our finalists, Chak and Sean, for making it, and of course our champion, Chak. So we are getting some victory things underway here momentarily. I believe we have a award ceremony coming up to celebrate our new champion of the Ultimate Typing Championship 2020, which is of course Chak. We called him Chak so much I have trouble remembering his actual name. Anthony Ermelin, that's right, Anthony Chak Ermelin. Congratulations. You have surprised us again and again to the point where we're expecting your surprises by now. Well done. And it looks like we were just finishing verifying the scores up there. And we're pulling them just to double check. But yes, it does look like Chak is indeed our champion for today, and things are checking out. Congratulations, Anthony Chak Ermelin.
Anthony and Sean. Congratulations for being the two finalists. This was an amazing achievement. You guys are very fast, and we actually measure the speed and the accuracy to give you a number of points for the final. So the grand total of the points, 6 points for Sean, finishes number 2, and the winner is Anthony Ermelin with 9 points. So Shaq, you are number 1, and Sean, you are number 2. We have an amazing set of prize. So this is a plaque for Sean for the Ultimate Typing Championship number 2. And then the winner will have this amazing diamond shape, and actually that's a diamond trophy that we're going to send you guys. On top of it, Anthony is winning a check of $5,000. And the prizes are listed on the website if you guys are interested. But second place will get a check of $500, plus all of the participants will get a lot of goodies, keyboards, and nice equipment to keep on typing. So, Sean, do you want to tell us a little bit what was your impression during the race?
Basically, the whole thing was pretty much what I expected the entire time. Czech made a massive improvement in the last 6 months. He did beat me in the clicking championship in February 2019, which was considered an upset. I mean, I viewed that as because it ended at 3:30 in the morning at the time for both of us. That affected me worse in my 30s while he was just a teenager. I did have a faster average speed than Czech by a half a word per minute in that tournament, and I still beat him about 60 or 70% of the time on Type Racer. We then had a rematch in the typing match 1 on Type Racer in the month of March, and I beat him in the semifinals. The seedings were pretty weird there because they were based entirely on when people entered and not actual speed. But in that tournament, I won with an average of 184 words per minute. Czech and Izzy both averaged 181 or 180 or something like that. But then between March and June, Czech really improved significantly and pretty much everywhere. And there was a second typing match that in June, and he averaged 191 words per minute over the entire tournament, increasing by over 10 words per minute between March and June. I believe by that point he had overtaken me, so I was not expecting to win. I was the highest seed in the qualifying round, but that was because Czech did about 60 races while I did 800. I tried much harder than I maybe should have to take over the lead of that. And Czech didn't even have power for a couple days during all that because he lost power during Tropical Storm Isaias. So for him to post 200 words per minute average over his best 30 races at only 60 races or something, well, it took me hundreds of races to beat that. I did not expect to win. I was concerned I would not finish in second place, honestly, because Aiko was significantly faster than I was expecting. I hadn't even handicapped him to finish in the final 4. I thought it was going to be the other British typist, Adam Ski. Yeah, Czech has fully overtaken me, clearly. I mean, he has to screw up. He's always been able to burst faster than I have. He overtook me, my top speeds on Type Racer, Nitro Type, and Best Fingers by a large margin. But my consistency was enough where I was still barely beating him enough. But now that he's gained more experience, I guess I can't anymore. He's fully overtaken me, just like I fully overtook Jelani Nelson back in 2010. I mean,
So Sean, I just have a question for you. What was the quote that was the most challenging for you today?
I mean, the hardest quote for everybody was obviously the quote where we typed the alphabet misspelled. Everybody got their lowest scores on that, but it was the only time one of 2 times I beat Czech in the entire tournament. That was objectively the hardest quote. I mean, I knew a lot of people would say the redux of the 2 Ultimate Typing Championship quotes from 2010 would have been one of the harder ones. I actually don't think that it wasn't. A lot of people have practiced that in the years since. I basically knew Czech had won once he beat me on that. I mean, I did improve my speed from like 124 to 140 on the pink ping pong ball thing, but then he beat me on that and I knew it was over. The quotes I found the hardest, honestly, were the really short quotes with a lot of capital letters, because I'm likely to make an error and I don't have enough time to correct it and get up to my usual speed. I liked longer quotes. I would have had a better chance if the quotes had been longer. I was kind of disappointed how short the quotes were in the final round, but I don't think that it would have ended up mattering, because, I mean, as Czech proved on the quotes where we typed the 2 Ultimate Typing Championship quotes from 2010 over again, he beat me by 4 words per minute there, so he's probably going to beat me regardless. I think it would have been closer if the quotes were longer and harder.
That's true. We had many short quotes today, and you're right that the most challenging for everybody was the alphabet misspelled. So thank you, Sean, for your participation. Now I'm going to ask some questions to Anthony. Anthony, can you tell us the impression you had about the championship?
Well, okay, so during the races, my mind is just blank. I'm just thinking about what I'm looking at on the screen and what I'm typing. But during the championship, the whole thing, I was still pretty worried that I wouldn't win. Even after I won the semifinals, I still thought, you know, maybe Sean is just gonna speed up out of nowhere, because I feel like that's happened before. But yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm really excited to have won.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, and what was your favorite code to type and the most difficult for you?
Say it again?
What is your favorite type of codes that you typed today? The short ones, the long ones, and the most difficult? Which one was it?
Well, the most difficult was obviously, as Sean said, the ping pong ball and the misspelled alphabet. Misspelled alphabet I got 70 words per minute on. But the most enjoyable kind of quote, I do like the long ones that don't have a lot of punctuation, because I feel like there's more room for error there for me, since I can speed up after I make an error.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys, and congratulations again for being the two finalists and to be such a great typist. And thank you, Nico, for doing the commentary during this event. It was awesome, and I know that we had about 300 live viewers today, combined Twitch and YouTube. All right, thank you, guys, and we'll be in touch very soon.